Hello, this is Workbench Podcast, episode number 6. I'm Seth Werkheiser along with Bill Meese, two people who work in music and love technology, and we want to share some of our nerdy knowledge to help make your work easier and more manageable. Good evening, Bill.
Hello, Seth. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's wintry out. I've been traveling way too much, but things are good.
I know, dude. I know we always start off the last few episodes with the weather, but this is insane if you live anywhere close to the north or east of anything in this country.
Yes.
I actually saw NASA had released a photo of the United States, and 2/3 of it is covered in ice right now.
Wow. That sounds about right. I was on a bus last night for like 4 hours, driving like 25 miles an hour on the highway. And saw like cars spun out on the highway and stuff like that. It was me and like 3 other people on the bus. That was it.
Yeah. I was actually chipping ice off of my deck today with a hammer.
Ooh. Fun times. So, dude, we should get into some reader feedback.
Yeah, we got
listener feedback.
Yeah, reader. Yeah,
it's been a lot of years doing that. So
yeah. Each episode has had a really good block of feedback, and I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Like that's the best part about doing this is, you know, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me like, oh, you and Seth are doing a podcast now. It's great, and you know, people that I would never have expected to listen to two guys talk about apps and technology. It's really awesome.
Yeah, totally, and it's fun. The varying levels of people. We have, you know, people that aren't like expert Twitter users or might not know what Dropbox is, to people who correct me on megabytes per second versus megabits per second.
Yeah.
As Matt chimed in again on Twitter, raised some great points, raised some great questions, which we'll hit here.
Why don't you hand out his Twitter handle?
That'd be something if I knew it offhand, had it in my show notes, but we'll put it in the...
I think it was mattack. Something like that.
Something like that. We'll definitely put that in the show notes. His correct Twitter handle. Yeah, Matt asked, are you advocating using web apps over a local app? What that means, you know, our last episode 5, we talked about web apps. Or no, episode 4. Oh, getting ahead of myself. But... web apps being what Bill was talking about, you know, an app that you upload audio files to and it joins them or it splits them or saves something as a PDF versus a local app, which is a program on your computer. So are we advocating using web apps over a local app, Bill?
No, not ubiquitously at all. I use web apps and local apps in tandem all day long. That show was specifically about web apps, so that's why we covered mostly that.
Sure.
Most of the things that we went over in that show can be done on local apps, but the whole point was to talk about getting it done over the web.
And a handful of times too, like say with the photo editing stuff, with Pixlr, it's free. You know, it might not be the best. Of course, Photoshop on a computer is going to be awesome. But some of us have 6-7-year-old laptops. Or
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. So, and you know, that might not be able to run a version that an old CD that you have. I know when I switched laptops, I had Pixelmator on my old Mac, and it won't work on my new one. So in a pinch, I was like, and I found... Pixlr online, so I've been using that. So, I mean, it depends on, you know, your experience may vary, I guess. Your results may vary.
Yeah, and you know, 9 times out of 10, all you want to do is resize an image or flatten an image or do something quick where, you know, Photoshop might be a little overkill for what you're trying to do. So,
right.
You know, that's why a web app would be helpful.
Right. And another great point, too, in speaking of web apps, is data privacy and ownership. And that could be a prickly one, especially with something like Gmail that, serves ads alongside your emails. It kind of scans your emails and serves you ads appropriately. The same way Facebook does. It sees what you like and serves ads alongside of it. So that could be a touchy issue with some businesses that don't want to put, their can be sensitive information. They don't want to put it on maybe a third-party web app or something because of privacy issues, which is a great point. I'm sure, I forget who it was. I remember in my time at AOL, I think it was at AOL, but like someone at some point was upset that we were using like Google Docs or something. Because, it's all AOL stuff, and we were putting it on this other Google site.
So just don't use it. That's the simple answer.
Sure.
As data privacy and just privacy in general gets more popular, as it has over the last number of years, this is going to get talked about even more. Mm-hmm. And especially as much as Facebook does what they do. I forgot which show it was at NPR. It might have been Invisibilia or something else. No, it was StoryCorps. I don't know. It was an NPR show that talked about Facebook running experiments on its users, manipulating their feed to positive versus negative stories to see what the outcome would be, with no knowledge of this happening by the user. And I remember it being a big story, and the whole point of the NPR story was the fact that they were doing research on it and interviewing people, and then the next day it broke online. But it was a big deal. So data privacy is a really big thing to think about, especially as more and more of our professional and personal lives, go online. Yeah.
Yeah. So things to think about. Yeah. Absolutely.
So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, what's this show about?
We're going to talk about putting even more stuff on the cloud. We're going to talk about, with all the work that we do locally on our own computers, in that if anything happens to stuff on our computers and it's not backed up, it could be gone. So we're going to be talking about cloud storage. Is that about right?
Yeah. And to be clear, it's not all cloud. Some of the stuff we're going to go over is as local as it gets. You access it through the internet, but the data doesn't live on the internet or on somebody else's server or on a different company's server.
Right.
So we'll start off with a popular one, and one that I'm sure that anyone listening to this show has used, and that's Dropbox. And Dropbox recently upped their storage to 1 terabyte, which is pretty impressive because after doing a little bit of research for this, they're one of the few companies that offer that big chunk of storage. And it's only $10 a month. But I will say, I'm an avid, heavy Dropbox user, and I haven't upgraded.
Yeah, me neither.
I've gotten, I forgot what they started me off with, was like 2 gigs, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 2.
But they're, along the way they give like special, connect this app and you can get 2 more gigs of storage, or use this app or whatever. So I think I'm up to about 6 gigs now. I don't know how I got them, so don't ask me. But it was through that method of like just doing something that they were involved in, and them dangling storage in front of me.
Sure. And Dropbox integrates really nicely on the Mac with the Finder, that it like maps right in there. So anything that you save on your computer, you can set it up that it syncs in the same way on Dropbox.
Yeah, and Dropbox is the old guard in the room. They're the ones that've been around the longest, I think. But as far as my workflows have gone, they've always been there. And there are a lot of new companies that are coming into this now that are trying to give Dropbox a run for their money.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is Box.com, formerly Box.net, and where Dropbox puts itself out there as like a personal cloud, Box does the exact opposite. They go after the enterprise client. They go after your IT department at your company. I know they've gone after mine. And this is what I use at work for everything. You get 10 gigabytes free, but there's a lot of different plans with this. I think we pay about $45 a month, but that gives us like 500 gigs with a handful of users.
Yeah.
So, and I gotta say, it's become a backbone of all the stuff that we do at work, and anyone that needs anything anytime, it's there, so they can just go get it, which is great for me. So since people like to ask me for photos and bios and everything else, and it's all right there, it's kind of awesome. Yeah,
and I talked about that in our project management episode. I used Google Calendar combined with Box.
Right.
Because then I was able to share kind of my account. We had two people in the account. It was me and the person that uploaded and did all the editing on the site. I put all the photos on Box, so they were able to access it, just like I could. Yeah, it's a really great site.
And speaking of last episode, I want to point out to anyone that's listening that after the last episode, Seth and I fully adopted Trello as our platform for working on this podcast, and I really couldn't be happier. Like I was looking for a reason to get into it for a long time, and this was a great opportunity. So thanks for introducing me to it.
Yeah, we it really started from after we get done taping these, I upload my audio to Dropbox, and I would email Bill like, "Oh, hey, the file." And I was like, "We just got done talking about this."
Yeah.
So I was like, experimented, like, let's do it all in Trello, and we basically set up or we got last week's episode up and set up this episode that we're recording now, pretty much without a single email.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which was the whole point of the last episode, was project management without email. But anyway,
back to cloud storage.
The next one I'll talk about because I know you hate it, but Google Drive is another backbone for me, and that's more of my personal files that I work on every day, spreadsheets, docs. They offer presentations. I know we've talked about it on the last episode, but it is a cloud drive, so that's why we need to include it here. And I guess you get 15 gigs for free. I think I had the 25 gigs for free plan when it first came out.
Yeah, possibly.
So I know that's what I have, but I don't pay for it. But yeah, that one's a big one.
Well, that one's big for photos. You could store a ton of photos on there. I have a lot of photos on there.
Yeah. And just to back up a second, the reason why we're going over these is that we're doing this show assuming that not everyone knows about every single one of these we're going to talk about. I'm assuming most know about Dropbox, most know about Google Drive, and we'll talk about iCloud next. But there's a couple on here that I don't even think Seth knew about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
I'm only bringing that up because sometimes when I listen to podcasts and people start talking about stuff that I'm very aware of, it's a little, whatever. But we're covering the basics for those out there who don't have them covered yet.
Right.
So what's next?
Apple's iCloud Drive.
Now this is going through a little renaissance right now.
Yeah.
I know they just launched the iCloud Drive proper with the new iPhone, and I can't say I've used it too much, but I have it. I don't pay for it.
Right. Because you get 5 gig for free, I guess.
Right, yeah, which, combined with all the other ones I use, it's fine. And that's a tip that you can try at the end of all this. Is what I do personally is I use a bunch of these and spread things around where they're needed, and I don't ever run out of space.
Yeah.
One thing I do pay for with the iCloud is the iOS backup.
Yeah.
Just because with me and my wife, she has 4 million photos on her phone, so to back that up requires a lot more space, and I think it's pretty cheap. I don't have the price in front of me, but it's a yearly thing.
Yeah, and if you're an iOS user, and you use a Mac, it makes sense. It just ties together so well.
And the next one is one I've been using for a while, and I really like it. It's called Copy. It's COPY, copy.com. It used to be 20 gigs for free, which is what I got, but now it's 15 for free. And 15 gigs is a lot. I know we just talked about Dropbox. They give you 5 or 6 gigs. Google Drive, 15 gigs. iCloud, 20. Giving 15 gigs for free is quite a bit, especially if you're using another one in tandem with it.
Yep.
And Copy is another one that will sit in your Finder, so you can route files to and from like you would any other folder on your computer. And that on its own is worth its weight in gold, because my personal setup is I have Dropbox and Copy right in my Finder, and it doesn't matter to me where it is. They're both on a cloud. They
Right.
both operate in the same, pretty much the same way. So, between the two of them, I think I have like almost 30 gigs for free.
Just floating in space out there.
Yeah, and 30 gigs is a lot for, especially if you're not using huge files.
And now, and too, Bill, I mean, we're talking about this online storage, and we talked about photos at least. What might be another use for these online storage things? So what's something that you use it for?
Anything. I mean, I guess I didn't bring up photos because I really don't use those for photos so much as some of the ones we'll talk about coming up. But just run-of-the-mill files, whether it's spreadsheets, audio files, text documents, or anything.
Yeah.
I will point out though that I'm working with entirely tiny files, which probably makes this setup work best for me, because I'm not using 3, 4, or 5 gig vector files or or anything that needs to be rendered in like Final Cut Pro or anything.
Right.
If that's your game, then you'll have to come up with another solution, because 15 gigs will go really quickly if you're doing video.
Yeah, it gets eaten up real quick. I know with the other podcast I do, Black Vinyl Collective, we swap the audio files, and each of us, or 30-minute or an hour-long bit of audio, that gets uploaded to Dropbox, and someone else edits it. So audio files, again, that's a big thing in that when you're swapping these big giant files, you don't want to send these in an email, because if you do, you'll destroy someone's inbox.
Yeah, and that goes back to episode 1 of email etiquette.
Yes.
It's really easy to just upload this to Dropbox and send a download link in an email.
Or any of these cloud drives, like cloud storage systems, you can send a share link. Mm-hmm. I know you can with Google Drive, right?
Yeah.
Copy.
Yeah.
You and I have swapped files on Copy before.
Yeah, and a cool thing about Dropbox, too, is if you're sharing a video file, I'm pretty sure it previews right in your browser.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I know it's a big one for people who are doing video where, you don't want to go through 5 minutes of download just to watch it.
Right. You can stream it right online. Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess that covers the cool kids table for online storage solutions.
Yeah.
But there's a couple on here that I want to talk about just because I've recently gotten into them. The first one I don't have, but I've heard a lot about. It's called Transporter. And these are a little more pricey, but that's because you're putting the equipment in your home or you're putting it in your office. So basically what that means is when you upload a file to Dropbox, that file is physically going to some server farm in Nebraska or Arizona or wherever the hell they carved out their server farm in a mountain somewhere. But something like Transporter, it's a box that sits on your shelf. And I wanted to point these out for this episode because that means it's not going anywhere where you don't know where it's going. It's going from your computer into your living room or from your computer into your kitchen. And you know where the file is. It doesn't go anywhere that's not owned by you. And I know some people need that more than others. Some don't need it more than others, like myself. Like if I'm uploading a band photo to Dropbox, not too concerned about who gets that. But if you're uploading, tax documents or personal info or, Social Security cards, birth certificates, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You might want to start thinking about that because, there's been, think about how many stories this year there were of companies getting hacked, big companies that pay people lots of money to protect their stuff, and your credit card your credit card info, your health insurance info, as with this last, I forgot the name of the company, but it was the big health insurance, the data breach, Home Depot, Target, you name it.
Yeah.
So it all, in my opinion, it all depends on what kind of info you're uploading to the cloud. So the reason why those are important is because if you're dealing with sensitive info, it's in your house as opposed to in outer space somewhere.
Yeah.
So Transporter is one of them. They start at about $200. And if you think of it this way, it's $100 a year for Dropbox. So
yeah,
with this, you're paying $200 and you get it for as long as you use it.
Then you're done. Yeah.
Right. So it's a little bit pricier to start off with, but if you're purchasing one of those, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah. You're serious.
Right. And the next one is one that I currently use. It's, everyone has had a WD external hard drive over the years. They've been making them forever. But they made one recently called their iCloud series. And it's the same thing. It's a hard drive. I have a 3 terabyte one in my living room that, when I'm in the house, it connects via Wi-Fi. And that is the ultimate drive that everything gets backed up to. So if I'm out and about on my phone, I'll upload some, photos of the kid to Dropbox or copy, and I actually have an OmniFocus task set up for once a month to dump both copy and Dropbox into this.
Wow.
And this way it's always backed up. I also run Time Machine on this, so you can back up your machine to
Wow, yeah.
And all my data is in my house. It's not anywhere else. That's why I got it.
Right.
They also sell a media converter, which is pretty cool. So if you're someone that has taken all of their DVDs and ripped them with Handbrake, you can access this drive with the WD media server and access all your movies and music right on your TV, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the last one I'll talk about is it's called Drobo. It's pretty much the same concept. It's a drive that sits, in your office or your house. But Drobo's a little more robust in that they offer a lot more at the enterprise level, the corporate level, and those start at about $300. And
a lot of photographers use that, right?
Yeah, well, they come in some pretty hefty sizes.
Yeah.
So, if you need 6 terabytes, Drobo would be your best bet. And all of these will be in the show notes. You can click
links
through
to
them.
all these. Yep.
Click through them, save them to Pocket, read it later, whatever.
And interesting thing about all these, which will lead into our next part, is whether it's on Dropbox or whether it's, as Bill's just talking about, Transporter, iCloud, Drobo, like in your house, the idea that something's in your house, if something happens to your house, you could lose those files.
Right, yeah. The whole point is like, well, if your computer gets dropped in a pool, what happens to your files? Like, oh, well, I have it backed up in my living room. But what if your house burns down?
Right. And so that's one of the biggest things about backups. And that's why, we kind of didn't touch on external hard drives at this point because, in 2015, a lot of people are pretty much aware of those. But so that leads into our backup segment.
One more point I'll bring up about Transporter and Drobo.
Absolutely.
Is that I know that some people who use them, they have 2. And they'll do just that. They'll keep one in their house, but then they'll keep one at like a relative's house.
Oh, awesome.
And it'll back up identically so that it's, they're mirror images of each other. So God forbid your house, maybe you're in Florida, you fall in a sinkhole,
Or someone robs your house.
Like, or that happened to a photographer friend of mine recently, and he lost tons and tons of photos.
Oh my God.
So, but if you had a Drobo or a transporter or a iCloud,
Right.
In the apartment next door,
Wow.
he would have saved everything.
Yeah.
But
Scary.
not to interrupt you, go ahead.
No. Great points. All great points. So there's a handful of backup solutions out there that are run online, and what those do is you connect to the internet, and periodically these services for a monthly fee, they'll back up the contents of your hard drive, or some of them your external hard drive. I'm pretty sure they could, if it's in your Finder, I'm pretty sure it'll connect to probably Dropbox and copying them too.
Yeah, and let me point out too, the biggest difference between these few we're going to talk about and what we've already covered is that all the ones we covered, they work somewhat manually in that you have to kind of curate the files that go in. Of course, there's Hazel and there's Time Machine that can automatically do a lot of that stuff, but the auto backup storage solutions we're going to talk about is designed to run entirely in the background, so you don't have to think about it. So you're paying a lot for, not you're paying a lot, but you're paying mostly for the convenience of it, to where, you don't have to think about it. It just automatically does whatever you tell it to.
Right, it'll back up individual folders or whatever,
Right.
however you specify, yeah. Yep. So the first one that I'm most familiar with is Backblaze. And for $5 a month, it'll do just that. It'll back up whatever's on your hard drive. You can specify folders, this, that. I also found it interesting that it'll back up your external hard drives. So if you have an external hard drive filled with music, and you don't ever, if that thing crashes, oh my God, all your music's gone, or photos or whatever, you just plug in the external hard drive and it'll back that up too. And it's like unlimited bandwidth too, I think. Unlimited storage for like $5 a month.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I don't use any of these, but I kind of want to.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
maybe we've created the Trello effect, and now we talk about stuff in the show, and then I end up using it a day later. So we'll see what happens.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, you listed two others here.
Yeah, the next one is Carbonite, and if you're a podcast listener, these guys have sponsored every podcast I've ever heard. Particularly the Dave Ramsey show, but it's the same thing. It's a little more pricier than Backblaze, but it's $60 per year per computer. So I guess the total amount doesn't differ that much, but same thing. It runs in the background. You set it to whatever you want it to do, and you forget it. You set it and forget it, Seth. Remember that rotisserie thing?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. If it's one last thing that you got to remember to do and it does it automatically, like that could be a real lifesaver. So
one way that these will come in handy is if you're working on something, and I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I've accidentally deleted files in the past, and I'm an OCD trash emptier. So sometimes I'm like, oh crap, I just emptied that out.
Yep.
But if Backblaze or Carbonite ran in between when you did that, you can go back and get it.
Yep.
And the last one is called CrashPlan, and it's pretty much the same thing as Backblaze and Carbonite. A lot of the features and the prices may vary, but it's, it does the same thing. It runs in the background and does everything we just said the other two do.
Yep.
So yeah, why is this important, Seth? Let's touch on that before we wrap it up.
Why is backing up important?
Yeah.
Well, hard drives die. Even, newer computers, a hard drive can fail. And even if it is possible, to replace stuff with this or that, it can take time to get stuff off your hard drive.
And money.
And money, yeah. So it's kind of the better safe than sorry kind of route. Like, why not spend, the $5 a month on some of these, or $60 a year, and back that stuff up? I mean, like with music, photos, all this important stuff, tax documents. My goodness. Yeah, if you lose that stuff, that could be a sad time.
Yeah. I think I'm going to start using one of these. I'm serious.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I with a new computer that I bought just recently, I'm trying to get all the photos that I've had in various places, Dropbox and Google Drive and all that. I want to get them all back into one place, and for sure I'm thinking of, put them on my computer or an external hard drive, but then back them up because, I don't ever want to lose those.
I guess you could probably daisy chain these too, meaning, you can manually back up or even have Time Machine back up to Dropbox or copy or whatever you have enough, and then have that back up to like a transporter or a Drobo, and then have CrashPlan back up that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it all sounds kind of technical. It sounds kind of over whatever, but in this digital age, there was just an article I think on The Guardian by the guy from Google talking about that this is the time of history that if anything happens, we could lose so many photos, so much content because they're all on hard drives.
Right. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and back in all it takes is just one failed hard drive, and that could be a decade of photos gone forever.
Yeah. Especially, for those of us with kids. I mean, that was part of the reason why I got the WD iCloud, is that, I really don't want to lose this stuff. So
right.
I'm just going to hang up now and just go buy Backblaze or something.
Yeah. I like it. And if anyone out there listening has experience with these or other ones that we didn't talk about, definitely get in touch, for sure.
Yeah, I would love to hear what kind of workflows that people have set up, because if I'm going to go out and get one of these backup solutions, I'd love to get some cool ideas and figure out how to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyone out there listening, you can email us at hello@workbenchpodcast.com. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter at either me or Bill's Twitter handle, at Seth W, at Bill Meese, and tag us Workbench Podcast, hashtag Workbench Podcast, and we'll see that and definitely be in touch about this kind of stuff.
And we're also in iTunes.
Hooray!
And honestly, the easiest way to support the show is just to go subscribe to us on iTunes and write a review. Because I don't know if people know this, but the iTunes store feeds a lot of the other podcasting apps. So if you get a better look on iTunes, it just, makes the show more easier to find.
Yeah.
So go check us out on iTunes.
Yep. And Workbench is also on Patreon. Patreon is a site kind of like Kickstarter, except instead of one big project, it's monthly because we do these every single week. So if you'd like to support this show financially, that would be awesome. The link will be in the show notes. Or you can find us on patreon.com/Bill Meese.
Yeah, we have just two basic rewards. $1 a month makes you an internet wizard warrior, and $3 a month will get you a shout out in an actual episode, and we will send you a CD promo pack.
Lots of music. We got music here. So,
what's our first goal? Can you tell people about that?
It's $20 a month, correct?
Yeah, which I think is super obtainable, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, just a couple people giving a buck a month here and there, a few people giving $3, that'd be awesome, and we can keep doing this.
Yeah, that just covers the costs of running it, which isn't that much, so that should be doable.
Right. So, review us on iTunes. If you find it in your heart, support on Patreon, that'd be awesome, or just retweet our tweets when we're talking about it. That'd be awesome. Thanks so much for the support.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you, Bill. Have a good night.